Newstalk 106 to 108.
You're most welcome back to the programme. I'm Bobby Kerr. This is Down to Business. Now, I'm very excited about our next piece. It's our fourth week of our technology and business feature with HP. The next 4 weeks, that's 4 weeks after today, we'll be exploring how businesses around the country are benefiting from new technology and how you can introduce new technology into your business. And to celebrate the addition of a new tech feature on Down to Business, we have a great prize from the sponsors HP to give away to you after today's show. We give one away every week, but this week it's a HP OfficeJet 6600E all-in-one printer. And the OfficeJet 6600E is designed for small business users looking for an all-in-one printer capable of printing professional colour for low cost per page via wireless network or direct from mobile devices. For a chance to win, all you've got to do is text PRINT along with your answer to 53106 with your name as well, and maybe you'd answer the following question, which is: Ireland plays their last Six Nations match next week. Is it in A, Paris, or B, Rome? So if you say your answer together with your name and print PRINT to 53106, and that's all thanks to HP. Now, my guest this week, Andy O'Donoghue. He's our resident tech expert here on Down to Business, and he's from RedCert, and he'll be with us every week for the next number of weeks. And we've also got Noel Davidson, who's a specialist in social media and e-marketing, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Join the conversation here by tweeting me here at Bobby Kerr or use the hashtag Down to Biz. Now, Andy, let's start with you, and let's look at some of the reasons maybe why businesses should use social media.
Well, there's 1 billion users of social media, Bobby, at the moment. 1 billion people active in social media. And we've seen a recent survey that tells us over 40% of business owners know that Facebook alone is important to their business. So it really is of growing importance. Sometimes it's easy for us to become maybe a little bit jaded as we're so familiar with social media, but it still is very relevant to business owners on a daily basis.
Yeah, let me just give you 3 points that I was looking at around why one should do it. It builds credibility, number 1. It projects your professionalism, number 2, and it creates a community of people that may buy from you.
It does.
That's the thing we mustn't forget.
It does. And I think sometimes it's easy to just get it taken away with the sales pitch. Never get taken away just alone with the sales pitch. Make your offers available, tell people about your business, about new products and things like that. But you also need to appeal to their emotions, and an emotional crowd will be more likely to buy from you and more stimulated by the products and the things that you do online.
Okay, let's bring in Noel Davidson, our specialist guest this week. He's a social media expert and general manager of QED Training. You do a lot of work with the enterprise boards, Noel, on this particular topic. So maybe just give us a kind of a broad view of how you think small businesses particularly are not using enough, or in some cases overusing social media.
Yes, Bobby. Well, as part of QED Training, we would train up to 2,000 new businesses every year, and we find social media is a great platform for them to use as market research to promote their business. And you actually mentioned one of the strap lines there is joining the conversation. It's a great tool to research your market, to engage with customers before you start to try and sell them something. So if we were a pizza store, for instance, instead of constantly bombarding with sales speak, buy 2 pizzas for €12, why not ask the question, what topping do you like?
Yeah.
And start to build a product that the actual customers need. And a lot of businesses forget about that. They treat social media as one-way traffic.
But there's a real subtlety about it, isn't there, in terms of how you sell, that it's all about referral, it's all about word of mouth, it's all about people saying nice things about your brand and product. But the hard sell, Noel, is it gets a cold shoulder on social media.
Absolutely right, Bobby. I know you've got to stop using social media. You've got to actually stop thinking about being a marketer and thinking more like a customer. So the actual secret to social media is being more social than the actual media itself. You know, it's in being human, being the sort of person at a cocktail party who listens attentively. You know, that
listening attentively at a cocktail party.
Well, you know,
that could be tricky.
It could be, absolutely. So in other words, you'll tell great stories and you show interest in others, and you're authentic and you're honest. So the secret is to actually simply be likeable. And we're often asked that, how do I get more likes? It's actually being more likeable, engaging with your customers or your prospective customers.
Nobody wants to go for a pint with a fella that they don't like. Should be looking at it in that sort of terms. Yeah,
absolutely.
Andy, let me bring you to video. One of the new sort of, and it's not new, but the sort of the step that we're now in, that really you need video as part of. That's the sort of new way of selling or describing really yourself, or even explaining why somebody should use you as opposed to somebody else.
It really is, and I think YouTube particularly is the new darling of social media. Second biggest search engine in the world. We're all familiar with the skateboarding cat, and yet more than ever it's so powerful for social media. No matter what you do, if you're involved in professional services, create a webinar, talk about, you know, the products that you sell and give people some advice. If you sell food ingredients, create a video, show people how to cook it, how to serve it, things like that. People have really taken to both video and pictures. Over the last few days alone, we've seen how Facebook are changing their look. The photo is all important.
So it's actually a move away from text to image.
Absolutely.
Is really another way of saying it.
Absolutely. We're seeing it now, and in the next year we will be so focused on pictures and video, and I believe particularly video. And if you used YouTube effectively and cheaply, it can really help you make a good impression with potential customers.
Couple of texts in that you might help me with, lads. Number one, it's clear that some firms don't use social media well. I always unlike a page if they bombard me with messages, use poor spelling, or put up too much quirky stuff that isn't really that funny. And that's a good text from Sinead in Greystones.
I'd ask Noel, how often should you engage in social media for the average SME? Is it every day, every week? What do you think?
You know, it depends on the business, but at least once a day. But I would prefer, it's good old-fashioned sales and marketing, 2 ears and 1 mouth. I would listen first, you know, and then I would often see businesses and they feel they just have to bombard the page with offers and services, whereas they should be engaging with their customers and going back to what I said first, joining the conversation.
Another one here, Noel, am I the only one that doesn't like it when firms ask user to share a photo so they can win something? Hate that type of guerrilla advertising. That's from Mark in Drogheda.
I have to actually completely agree with Mark. You know, believe it or not, that is one of the number one rules on Facebook by their guidelines themselves not to do. It's not permitted, but many businesses are doing that, and it is one of my largest gripes.
Maybe explain it for our listeners what actually happens.
So there are Facebook guidelines from promotions, and Facebook have categorically said that you cannot run a promotion just by liking and sharing a photograph.
Right.
It has to be run as a third-party app, and it actually makes sense that, you know, you go into an area where you enter your name, your email and your details, and that's collected by the promoter of the competition. Because if you like and share, many people have their privacy settings on, so how do you contact a person you know, when they've won? So it's a very ambiguous, and it's one of my pet hates, I have to say.
Okay, well that's well explained. Andy, another one here for you, talking about the video. Using YouTube effectively basically means have short videos that are well produced, requires creativity and some sort of expertise and appreciation of the fact that people haven't time or patience to watch anything more than a minute or two. That's from Paul in Wicklow, and he's right, isn't he?
Absolutely.
A minute,
right.
Anything longer than a minute and you're starting to go somewhere else.
I think 3 minutes is the absolute max. 3 minutes ideal for YouTube videos. It's time to tell people about yourself and what you're doing and your product. Absolutely.
Okay, can I just give another shout out for our competition? The question is, in which country do Ireland pay their next Six Nations match? Is it A, Paris, or B, Rome? And if you want to just text the word print to 53106 along with your name and answer to that question. Okay, Noel, what are the other big do's and don'ts in social media from your perspective?
Well, you know, social media is a fantastic tool if used correctly, and a lot of people think it's the silver bullet to solve all their marketing woes. It's not. It should be used in conjunction with their traditional marketing, both on radio and newspaper and in print. But it is a great tool to target specific markets. So for instance, Facebook ads are stunningly effective if you target the demographic that you want. You can dial right down from the 2.2 million people that are on Facebook in Ireland, right down to women over 50 years of age who live in Carrigaline, County Cork, and like sailing, you know, for instance.
Isn't that the beauty of it? That it means that there's so much less waste, really, that you're actually zeroing in on a community that is relevant to you and you're relevant to them.
Completely.
Yeah.
And a big example of people doing it correctly on Facebook is we've worked with holiday companies in the past, and 75% are women who follow their page. So it's not always about giving the straight offers all the time. It's appealing. And one of the most popular videos that we've seen is this child, and the father's trying to say, who's your favourite, dad or mum? And the child constantly says, mum, 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 and it's really funny. And it's one of the most popular videos. What has that got to do about selling holidays? Nothing, and yet everything. You're appealing to the people who buy.
In a soft way.
Absolutely.
Now, there's one here which I think is a really, really important tweet that we've just got in. How does a firm address criticism on social media? If left unattended, it can look bad for business. And that's from Claire in Wexford. I think that's a huge point, that you really are a little bit of a lamb to the slaughter, Andy.
You are. If you hold yourself out there, and so you will get that amount of negative commentary. And you've got to address it very quickly.
Yeah.
The one thing about social media, and as Noel mentions, being active once a day, be active, never be dormant, and if someone criticises you, respond to it immediately. Yeah.
I would agree completely. You know, put the fire out. Yes, we all get fires that are lit every so often, and we have a product or a service that falls down. I'd rather know about that as a young business and address it. And it's the people that are looking at your page, your prospective customers, are judging you on your customer service.
Okay, that's all I'm afraid we've got time to. We've had a lot of response from the text. I hope it isn't just the competition. I'm saying that it's the content of our very, very, very subtle debate here on social media. I'd like to thank my guests, Andy O'Donoghue from redcert.com and Noel Davidson. He's a specialist in social media and e-marketing. Up in the next hour, we're going to be having a look at the love business and looking at matchmaking and dating agencies. Can't wait for that. And also, Anna May McHugh from the National Ploughing Championships will join us in our executive chair. See you after the news.
Down to Business. Brought to you by AIB's Big Drive for Small Business. Supporting local business in Ireland. Newstalk 106 to 108.
Ever wonder if investment